Hey everyone, welcome back to Arrive, the podcast where we spotlight SaaS founders' journeys and growth and unpack the tactics that turn an MVP into revenue machines. Today's podcast is brought to you by Phantom Growth. We partner with SaaS companies to build predictable pipelines of qualified buyers, helping SaaS founders reach their revenue goals, all without a big sales team or massive ad spend by leveraging AI and proven systems for growth. If you're curious how Phantom Growth helps SaaS companies create predictable growth, check out phantomgrowth.com to schedule a call. Today's guest is Andy Jedynak. I'm super excited to have him here and feature him on this podcast. Andy is a seasoned venture-backed high-growth CEO with extensive broad and operational experience. Andy began his business career at NBC after completing a successful career as a pro basketball player in Europe. As a product media and marketing expert, he has led the growth of large-scale digital media, SaaS, IoT, mobile, and app businesses in both the B2C and B2B sectors. He is currently president and CEO of ClientPoint, a top-rated global business software offering. Thanks for joining us today, Andy.
Great to be with you, Austin.
I'm super excited to feature you and pick your brain a little bit about your experience. And I know you and I have talked a bit about kind of all that you've done in SaaS, but want to have you share it with your own words. I know that you've built about 4 SaaS companies. Is that right?
That is correct. Yes, this is my fourth. I love seeing the evolution of internet as a whole. I think that in the world, technology drives choice and choice drives change. And I've been seeing over the last few decades now an amazing revolution and evolution of how the world works. And it's like nothing we've ever seen before. And being able to be on the front lines as a aggressive, high growth, kind of no holds barred tech exec has been just a perfect front row seat.
Very cool. Did you always love tech and know that you were going to get into SaaS, or how did that come to be?
Yeah, I do. Frankly, although I'll tell you, I'm the dumb CEO in the family. My dad with multiple doctorates from MIT, and my brothers are like high-end technologists and do stuff in the technology world that I'll never be allowed to know about.
Gosh.
And so as much as I studied computer science in college and all those kinds of things, more than anything, I come from a family that has absolutely, staked itself in technology and so forth. So a little bit was just nurture, but also I just have a massive interest in all of that. And so this is just a continuation of a lifelong interest in technology and where it's headed. And what better time in the history of the world? Technology is evolving like crazy.
Yeah, everyone's saying it's like we're back to the original stage of when internet was introduced. Like they think AI is going to have that much of an impact. Do you see that happening?
Oh, I do. I do. I think that, internet, of course, baked very slowly starting in the 60s. And then, of course, with this idea of, putting what was then, when you print things using some internet typesetting language, you print them to a printer, and someone had the fun idea of printing it to a computer monitor, which was the beginning of the web.
Yeah.
And then now AI, I think more than, you think of all the things that happened. You've got you had mobile, you had apps, you had, things like, software as a service that came in, the cloud. But when you look at AI, seriously, I think we all know that this is one of these things where the world's never going to look back, where the workforces are going to be shifting more than they ever have. And I think AI probably is going to be more profound than even the web was early on. So it's exciting, very exciting time we live in.
Yeah, it is exciting. It's overwhelming. I feel like being in the SaaS space, you got to grab it by the horns while it's growing, and there's this fear of kind of falling behind and so yeah, anyways, we could go deep into the world of AI, but I want to hear about ClientPoint and the software, which is amazing. I mean, the best way for me to summarize it is you've put a bunch of tools that before we had to, access in a lot of different places into one hub. So can you explain that a little bit better than I did?
No, sure. And I think that, there's a disconnect in the world right now. You and I and all of your viewers, listeners here on this podcast, as consumers, nights and weekends, we're used to amazing online experiences with the websites and the services we love.
Yeah.
So you go to one place, everything you want to need is a click or two away. It's easy. Spotify, same thing. Netflix, same thing. That is the standard of how we expect internet to work. And the difference in B2B, and here we are talking about SaaS, which is, usually B2B, is that in B2B relationships, more than anything, relationships are really important. They're essential in business, they're essential in life. And yet we ask our prospects and our customers in business, if we're a company that we want to serve them or we're serving them currently, to go to a whole bunch of different places to do business with us. There's email, there's, all these are great services, by the way. We love it and
Slack
we
and
integrate with most of them, but there's
so many.
Calendly, there's Zoom, there's WebEx, there's DocuSign, there's Adobe Sign, there's Dropbox, there's all these things that one business relationship uses just to execute. And I just got started with the list. The average, enterprise relationship has 25 or 30 different places that the two companies go to get business done. We just think
Wow.
that's crazy. And that's our
Yeah.
why. We exist to solve that massive elephant in the room problem. Why not just make B2B as easy as B2C, as going to Spotify or YouTube? That excites us. It's where we've come for quite a while, and it's really what we want to do going forward. And by doing that, we want to become the front office of the B2B world, literally the platform where the world's most valuable and profitable and important business relationships actually take place.
Cool. So, having built other SaaS companies, what made you feel like this was the biggest pain point you wanted to solve?
No, it's a great question. Every time I've gotten involved with a SaaS company, it's always been exciting. We've done some amazing things in kind of breaking new ground and solving problems in a way that, using the cloud, using software, we're able to solve major business problems. And I've done it, with other companies by delivering weather, for example, in a much more meaningful way for the sake of how businesses can use weather to be able to save money, to have less risk, and so forth. And that was with WeatherBug. Others, crowdsourcing white collar workers. Amazing important thing to be able to solve that problem. And in the past, I've done SaaS where we've used AI, ML, machine learning to do things. And it's always about solving a really important problem in business. I've always been excited about everyone. We've had great backers. This one is special to your question, Austin, in the sense that we're not solving another problem in business. In fact, that's what SaaS has done. It's solution oriented. What's another thing we can solve with software and put it in the cloud and then sell it? That's the way it works. We're turning everything on its ear. And we're just simply saying, instead of solving a problem, we're going to solve for relationships, business relationships. What do business relationships need to be amazing? So it's really just a change. And when you look at it that way, all the problems have been solved with SaaS. Now we're saying, okay, let's honor the relationship between two business people, between two companies, and make it easy for people to do business with you. When you change the frame, you realize how big of an opportunity it is. I'll tell you that this is the biggest thing that I've ever done, and I'm believing that we could really change the world in a big way with it.
I love that. That's really cool to hear that and how passionate you are about it. How did you initially go about finding the right market and doing that validation?
Sure. I'm gonna tell the founder story, but there's a little twist
Yeah.
because the early founders weren't me. I was adopted or discovered, or I discovered the company, whatever happened, about halfway through its tenure. But I want to start at the very, very beginning with a small Southern California business services contractor, building services contractor called GMI. And GMI was a family-owned business. The son was raised in it. The father eventually, finally, as the son got older into the adulthood years, the father sold it to his son. And as soon as the son bought it, and again, what is building service contractor? In this case, they do janitorial service and they do standing guard security, the security guards in buildings to keep them safe at night. Those are the two things they did in Southern California. Well, shortly after the son bought the business, the two largest possible competitors anywhere both looked at Southern California and realized that their market share was really, really poor in Southern California. So those two companies actually went and decided to go after Southern California with money and talented people and marketing and fancy brochures and all that sort of thing. And the two companies, by the way, one of them, great janitorial services company called Marsden, biggest in the country at the time. And then Standing Guard Security was Securitas, which many of us have heard of. I mean, that's a pretty well-known global name. So the founder's son, who just bought the business, was very nervous because these major heavy hitters were trying to get into Southern California and take away his market share, beat him out of his own business. So he had to get creative. And he's a very, very smart, creative guy. And what he did was he said, how can I look good, even though I'm not that big, even though I don't have that money? And he came up with the idea as well, let me automate a great proposal experience with software. Let me put it, instead of putting it into a 3-ring binder, which was the way they did it, let me automate this, build something beautiful with all of our best language, all of our best pictures and imagery, and let me put it onto a web page so that the person who's considering our company will be so impressed. Their whole proposal's in their own private web page. Of course, today we call these digital sales rooms. And it actually worked really, really well. And they were able to beat back these two major, incredible companies and literally double the size from 25 million to a $50 million company. And all of the founders' friends in building service contractor world around the country, and there's a big association called BSCAI, they all heard about the success he had and they said, can't you license this software to me? I love this. We want to use this too. So the original founder, his name is Lawrence Abrams, decided that he would license this to all of his friends in they call them the BSC world, building service contractor world. And he did that. And in the back office of a janitorial service firm for several years, they slowly baked this product and got it finally to the point where it was an enterprise grade product, just serving his friends in the world, serving his friends in other parts of the country that weren't competitive. But he also ran the company honestly. In fact, two of the people that were signed on fairly early were Marsden and Securitas. So he
No way.
really wanted to make this work. And then along around 2017, 2018, he decided with his board that, we wanted to find someone who's, done B2B SaaS companies before and high growth companies. And that's when they discovered me, I discovered them. But it's such a cool founding story when a business is born of a need that it's that personal. It's incredible what you can do.
Yeah, that's a great backstory. So the original product was customized proposals that looked like websites.
Exactly. And it's a category that's probably less well known, but proposal automation, right?
Yeah.
And then the one that's more popular, in fact, this year, just recently, Gartner did a major, major study at the end of last year, in the beginning of this year, about digital sales rooms, and that's kind of becoming more and more of an important thing in the world because business decision makers are now about 70% of them are digital natives, and they just want to have it be easy. So what better way than to let them go to one link on one website and get all the information they need or want when they're looking at products or services they might bring on board their company. And Gartner did a digital sales room study where they took kind of all the top players in the world. And I will tell you, we're so excited because I have never in all my companies gotten a perfect 100% score from Gartner. And this time we did 100%, best score in the world because of all the capabilities we put in there, especially in the last year. But we're excited. We're excited. And so when you think about proposal automation and digital sales room, one thing to keep in mind is if you're really great at automating proposals, you're really great at automating experiences. And now what we do is we automate entire relationship experiences inside of that digital sales room, which has evolved to become a digital sales and support room for the entire customer journey, soup to nuts. So it
Yeah.
really is being able to automate the way that the relationship happens between two companies. It's really powerful.
It is powerful. And when you and I were scheduling, I was able to go into the system and see all the different links there, sign a contract and schedule a meeting. And then there's messaging portals. So it was cool to have everything in one spot. So
Yeah.
very cool to see all of that come together. and probably fun to
Thank you.
see that evolve where originally that probably wasn't the plan, but the company evolves with time and as you meet with people and solve more problems. So what was that like coming into a pre-existing company and kind of coming into stepping into someone else's shoes?
It was wonderful. I'll tell you, I had a lot going on at the time, and I probably had more than enough to do. And one of the board members kind of pulled the friend card and said, "Come on, just take a look. These guys, they're really looking for a CEO, someone with your background, and let at least take a courtesy call." And so I met the founder, Lawrence. Amazing guy. I had a great afternoon with him, and then very next day I met his co-founders, Zeb and Glenn. And I'll tell you, three things were why I joined up. Number one, I loved those guys. They totally deserve to win. They're good people. And for me, that's the most important thing. I think the culture is so important. It's half of my job. It should be the half of any CEO's job is culture, the other half strategy. But I really fell in love with those guys. And then I looked at the tech they had built. Years of what I call enterprise customer responsive product development. What do our customers want? Let's go give it to them. What do they want? Let's go give it to them. Years of doing that, they had built an incredible platform. And, I've done a lot of B2B SaaS. And so I know what to look for. And I was just so impressed. So they built an amazing thing. Number three, I really felt like they didn't know what they had built. There was so much more that could be done with the core technology. And really, that whole idea, that vision of going from a proposal automation into a digital sales room and then evolving into becoming the place where the world's most important relationships actually happen, it's not a big leap. When you think about it, the kind of the a digital sales room is where people look at a company's offerings, decide whether or not to use them, and then at the end of the process they do e-sign. And what I saw and what the rest of the company agreed with was that we don't have to kill that link just because someone signed. Why not keep that link up the whole time through the whole relationship, even if it's a 50-year-long relationship? And so that was really the opportunity. I got excited. I joined midstream, to your question, just because of those three reasons and because I thought there was a lot of upside.
Yeah. Yeah, that's awesome. And when you came in, you talked about company culture. How would you like me to kind of bring up the company culture that we were talking about?
Well, let's talk about it. I think that it's so important because especially as tech entrepreneurs, where every day is kind of live or die, and
Hmm.
really, and you've got to love doing this. You've got to be ready to be in the game, and you've got to be willing to put it on the court every day. But even when you're there trying to make greatness happen or fall on your face trying, one
Yeah.
of the things that a lot of tech entrepreneurs don't think about is the people they have, who they are, what they stand for, what they're about. And just having done this enough, I know how important it is to establish the culture. And for me, I found people who already kind of fit my culture, my sense of culture. Otherwise, I would have never joined. And early on, in the first 6 months, we looked at the company and we really worked on our mission. We worked on our why, right? Which is to make B2B as easy as B2C, everything on one link and just like you'd expect. We worked on our mission to be the front office of the business world. And then we went straight to our values. And they talk about the pyramid. You got your why, and then your mission, and then your vision, which we have it as our 3-year operating outcome. 3 years from now, what is our company goals? And then after that is our values. And so we went and defined them, and we decided what they were with a day-long session. And then once we got down to the six that we ended up with, we very carefully sweated what the definition was, the few sentences for each. And it was a great exercise. It's on our website at clientpoint.net if you want to take a look at
Yeah, I'd love
our
to.
values. And it's a priority because it should be a priority. And we did it and we established it early. And since then, we just live by it every day.
And how did you get the employees to gravitate towards that or catch on to the mission?
It wasn't hard at first because it was a very small group, and I wouldn't have joined them if I thought that there was a mismatch
Yeah.
in our values. So it was easy at first. Now, once you establish them, it's about living them every day, which means about talking about them regularly. It's not sticking them up on the wall or, in the employee portal, those kinds of things. You've got to really ask yourself and let everyone ask and answer the question, what is the value? Did we live up to it? What are we doing well? What are we not doing well around our values? And you just can't forget about it. It's got to be part of the common fabric of how you execute the business.
Yeah, especially as the one that everyone's looking to. If those values aren't a part of who you are, then it's not going to be a part of the business. It kind of has to be intertwined into all of that. My father-in-law is Sean Covey. His dad is Stephen R. Covey, who wrote Seven Habits. So beginning with the end in mind, having like mission statements, I think is really important to accomplish our goals. And a lot of people don't take the time to write those out or say what they are. But like you've pointed out here, when you do that, you're gonna have a mission. You at least have a direction so that you know where you're trying to take the company. Otherwise, what are we doing out here? There's a
Yeah,
million things in SaaS.
yeah, it's so true, and it's funny, and what a great legacy that you're a part of. And I had an amazing opportunity to actually meet Stephen Covey. That's
Really,
one of the
it's amazing.
early books that I read, The Seven Habits of Highly Effective People, that absolutely doesn't get old. And I know that we're always looking for the latest or whatever to read, but that is a great one. That is so worth reading. I encourage our viewers, our listeners here to go find that Seven Habits of Highly Effective People, and it really helps you ground who you are, how you think, what you do. And they say that habits are the flywheels of civilization. They say that you don't rise to the level of your goals, you sink to the level of your habits. Think about that. You don't rise to the level of your goals, you sink to the level of your habits. So, what better way to assure success in your life than find habits that can be your flywheels that can allow you to be successful in a lot of ways, not just money, but everything about you in life.
Yeah. And I'm glad that I've read that when I was younger because it gives you a paradigm and a frame to go off of with life instead of just all these confusing principles and everything that we hear on social media. It puts everything into very simple terms that I can put in my mind when I have a meeting that's really stressful or I'm trying to improve relationships in the business. I'm thinking begin with the end in mind, seek first to understand and then be understood. And
Mhm.
yeah, those principles are game changing for business owners.
Yeah, I agree. I agree.
Well, that's amazing. So tell us more about where you see ClientPoint going, what your vision is, and maybe some hurdles that you see in the future with it.
Sure. Well, as I shared, the short version of our mission is to become the front office of the business world, to literally be the platform where the world's most important, valuable, profitable relationships actually take place. We see that as they talk about this concept of BHAG, BHAG. Some folks here have certainly heard it, but it stands for the big, hairy, audacious goal, right?
The way,
And so we want to we want to do that. And there are, when you think about it, I mean, it's like, didn't anybody ever come up with that? I mean, doesn't anybody own that already? And the truth is they don't. No one really is that place. And I get back to what we started talking about at the beginning, is that in SaaS, which is I mean, look, it's the number one performing sector in the last 15 years in the stock market. SaaS is amazing. The playbook has been to solve different problems. The way to win in SaaS is find a problem in business, solve it with software, put it in the cloud, be smart about how you execute. If you get number one or get number two, you can go horizontal. If you're in below that, go find a vertical you can win in.
hmm
No one has really stepped back and said, let's be relationship oriented. So we believe this massive vision is very possible. And sometimes we think, in the dark of the night, it's like, wow, how do we deserve to do this? I mean, why is it that we should be the one? And I put it in perspective in a kind of a fun way. 5 years ago, when you looked at all the people who had social media sites that included video, people like Snap and Instagram and Facebook and YouTube, you think, all the multi-channel creators, who would have ever thought that anybody could go challenge all these amazing, powerful companies? And this little tiny company came along called TikTok. And I mean, who looked at their business plan and they said, we are going to disrupt Snapchat and Instagram and that's crazy,
mine
right?
and
But they did. There's always room for disruption in the marketplace, especially when innovation begins to lag. And so, in the same way, we actually believe we truly become the unequaled. I mean, right now you can get ClientPoint for free. You don't have to be an enterprise customer. If you just go to clientpoint.me, anybody can join ClientPoint. And ClientPoint, the user base is growing exponentially. Why? Because you not only go to ClientPoint let me say it this way. When you go to LinkedIn, you go there and you look at each other's bios and your resumes, and maybe your posts, and maybe some recommendations. Why can't you do business on LinkedIn? I don't know. You can do lots of stuff on LinkedIn, but it's really designed more for kind of resume and job searching, that kind of thing. Well, we just said, look, LinkedIn's wonderful, but let's put an alternate place together where people can go and actually meet and get business done. You can get one link, and that link you can send to everyone in the world. And everyone that comes to that link comes to themselves and you in a private, secure workspace where you can do anything together from now until the end of time in business, everything. Chat back and forth, DM, schedule, meet, pay. And if you want to sign, pay. And if you want to do more, then of course there's a paid version. If you want to have AI who's there for you 24/7 answering when you're not there, you can pay for it. So there's a lot of evolution in what we do. We just think there's a lot of room for a place for someone like us to be the really unparalleled platform for business relationships. Now, what are the hurdles? It's obvious. First, there's a lot of suspension of belief that I think you have to have, because anybody who's trying to shoot for the moon, there's a million challenges, and every day you've got to fight. Every day you're in a game. So, man, what are the challenges we have? I've said where we want to go. The challenges are so many, I don't even know where to start. But, but I think there's a couple of them. As you think about our audience, there's a lot of folks in SaaS. It really boils down to a lot of the same things that we all experience in SaaS. We need to know our customer. We need to know our ideal client profile. We need to know not only who they are and what their job is and what their job demands, but we need to know their needs, wants, fears, frustrations, aspirations, all those things. And I think that a lot of people lose focus on that. And so we're trying really hard not to lose focus on that and try to be very narrow in our approach. As much as we want to be huge, we also have to really stay focused right now until we deserve to kind of expand beyond where we are. So I think one obstacle is huge vision, not enough focus. So we need to be careful there. And this year, more than ever, we're being really hyper-focused on what our marketplace is that we can attack now to be able to really drive the business forward and create more and more cash in the business. So that's number one. What's another, any kind of SaaS obstacle to growth we're going to have. So you tell me, what do you want to talk about? And let's dive in.
Yeah, well, that's a difficult spot to be in because you are building a product that most anyone can use, any business is going to benefit from, right? And so who do you dial that into? Who do you focus on? Because you can't focus on the whole world. So dialing in that ICP, that's a tough spot.
No, it is. And I'll tell you, one of the obstacles related to that, Austin, is that we do have a lot of companies that use us from many different product and service categories. We do have customers on 6 continents. We do have customers in a dozen languages. And now we're about to go to a 13th language. I just heard in the daily all hands today, everyone's excited about adding a new customer in a new language. So when people hear about us, and for example, we're a built for Oracle NetSuite partner. Why is that? Well, there's no one in the Oracle universe no product in the Oracle universe like ours. So we get a lot of leads from them, and companies like Live Nation is a customer. They hear about us, and it's like, wow, we really need that. Our customers are important to us, and so we have financial, we have manufacturing, we have building service contractors, we have a few other verticals, and the temptation again is to let all of that just kind of continue to kind of opportunistically grow, but you've got to focus your resources on one area. So that's a strong encouragement. Even if you can be horizontal, focus on the vertical where you can win and win the best, and then the others can come later at the right time.
Great advice. Great advice. Well, as we wrap up here, what would be your main piece of advice for other SaaS founders? Or what would you tell yourself if you were starting 10 years ago?
Yeah, I would say know your people, know your numbers. So hire to culture. Don't hire to talent, hire to culture. Make sure that people are a culture fit first, and then see how they fit into whatever the job is that you're hiring, what that job demands. I think culture first in the hiring is more than once you've got a bad culture, once you've got, I mean, there's so many ways to say it, but call it sin in the camp. Someone who's really a poison to how things work, it can just take the whole company in the wrong direction, no matter how great you are. So people and culture first, and then after that, the numbers. I mean, there's some incredibly important metrics that have been established within the SaaS world that companies, venture capital companies, investment companies, analysts have all kind of come down to. So the numbers, the magic number, the CAC to LTV, and et cetera, all those things, net revenue retention, gross revenue retention, churn, all those numbers. I think anybody listening here who's in SaaS, be a student of those and really drive your business on the rails of those numbers because they don't lie. So those are two quick things I would throw out.
I love that. Great insight. I've loved everything that you've shared and learned a lot just about how you've navigated the business and how you see the product and market fit and making all that work. So you've done an incredible job, and I'm excited to keep exploring and using your guys' product. Where can our listeners go and find you guys?
I'm going to share that in a minute, but I want to make one final point, and that's about what you guys do. One common thing I've seen in the B2B world is that there's less sophistication around marketing, less sophistication around building marketing funnels, around building, good brand messages. I'll tell you, if you become passionate about how marketing works in the B2C world, right? And then apply a lot of those strategies and tactics in the B2B world, very few SaaS companies actually do that. It's just a blind spot. So, wow, I mean, get to know traffic, conversion, get to know messaging, all those things. It's like a superpower in the SaaS world because often that's forgotten. So, anyway, that's kind of a third thing. I'm going to add that in. But if you are interested in finding out more about ClientPoint, go to clientpoint.net. That's where you can find out more about what we do, and there's a trial version where you can use it for free, and that user base is growing fast globally right now. And then from there, you can become, for the SaaS listener, a PQL, a product qualified lead, better than an SQL, a sales qualified lead, because you've experienced the brand, you've experienced our product for you yourself as a professional, and then maybe you might be interested in actually paying for our enterprise product, which we're super excited about. But clientpoint.net.
Love it. And I'm benefiting over here, not being on the enterprise side, but still using some of those amazing features. So I hope our listeners go out and use that and use your product because it's great. And there's a lot that they can benefit from there. So thank you so much, Andy, for your time and for joining us here and giving your insights. It's been great to hear from you and also get to learn more about yourself and your background.
Thank you, Austin.
Thanks. Okay.